And hey there, hi there, ho there, and a gracious good afternoon to you. Yes, welcome back for another exciting, in fact, the third ever Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast. Coming to you from our same location as last week, the Northeastern Louisville Free Public Library, using their podcast facilities to bring you the joy and excitement of UofL women's sports. We got the same three as last week up here. Me, Jeff, and Case. I want to talk to you about primarily basketball today, women's basketball, since that seems to be the main event that's been going on this week, but we will delve into a little other stuff as we get into it. As we normally do this time of shows, we'll get into our introductions, and over on our far right, for all of you looking at home at us and on a screen that isn't there, I'll do a visual for you, and he's wearing a red hat, he's got on a gray jacket, and I guess it's Case Hoskins.
Yeah, and I'm not drenched from head to toe this time.
That's right.
I thought I might be earlier this morning when it was a torrential downpour and windy, but
and when I came in with my peppermint mocha too, I almost,
then you poured it all
spilled
over.
that on you.
Yeah. There was a tree down in the library
saw
loop.
that.
Don't know if anybody else picked up on that, but making everyone go the wrong way on the one way to get out of here.
Right.
As we're giving everybody a live up-to-date traffic report as well. This show spares no boundaries.
Yeah, so then when you listen to it later in the week and it's completely irrelevant, make sure that you know this is a topical show. We keep things topical around here.
Just be careful of woodchucks. They are dangerous. Sitting in the middle here with us, Jeff McAdams. He's had a roller coaster week, that's for sure, but he's trying to straighten some things out, and hopefully we're sounding okay to you today, eh, compadre?
Yeah, I got in here about an hour early, was playing around the setups, and I think my audio may be a little low, but yeah. So working it out, figuring out the equipment and how it works. I might have to take these earbuds out.
In show adjustment.
Hearing yourself on about a quarter-second delay is just enough to throw you off.
Alrighty then. Already 5 minutes into the show, we've already got technical meanderings going on here. I'm your third knucklehead up here today. My name is Paulie, and I had a fun week myself. Not really a whole lot going on, but got some great interviews in with some coaches on campus, and also I had a chance to go down to the Center on Sunday, 6 days ago. Watched a very, very fun basketball game down there. We'll get into that just a little bit later on. As we go, this is the part of the show where we normally do our scheduling and Twitter information. And since
Tweet.
ding, I have no laptop in front of me today. I'm going strictly on papyrus, as they would say. Case, guess what? You're doing scheduling and Twitter per normal.
This is my shocked face. Or I guess for our audio listeners, this is my shocked voice that I have to pick up scheduling and Twitter as always.
Case has a look of Quizman on his face as he proceeds into the schedule.
Yeah, so let's just go ahead and start with the schedule. Get into Twitter a little bit after. Looking at Saturday, January 18th, not the 17th, which is what I saved my article as this morning in my personal directory. You know, time gets away from you sometimes. But men's tennis is hosting over at Bass Rudd, their first host of the season. They're taking on Virginia, who's ranked 10th in the country. Got underway at noon today, and then their doubleheader matchup is against Austin P later at 4:30. Probably an indoor match, I have to assume. It's a little bit windy and wet today for outdoor tennis, but it is what it is. The marquee matchup today, men's basketball taking on Duke at 6 p.m. That's the game day game on ESPN tonight. That one is, like I said, on ESPN, 6 p.m. And Paul Rogers will still be on the radio for bringing you the voice of the Cards, despite some other things that have happened on that radio station, including to him. But
Layoffs seem to be the story of the week.
Yeah, it's the mid-January
poor
layoffs
Paul.
that everybody dreads all the time.
Poor Paul, he doesn't have to get up at 4:30 every morning now, 5 days a week.
Goodness.
I feel for the guy, okay?
Hey, getting laid off though, I have now personal experience with this. So.
There you are. It seems to be going in threes.
Yeah.
Who will be next?
I hope not. Don't look at me.
Since I'm retired, well, who does that leave in the room?
They're going to close Jared's bank branch.
Yeah.
No.
Anyway, tomorrow, women's basketball taking on North Carolina, and our fearless Dave Watson has gone out on a limb to claim that will be an unmitigated disaster for the Cards.
Dave has swept off the porch and made room for a new mat here. My gosh, really?
That one's getting underway at 1 p.m. and will be broadcast on ESPN2. So a nationally televised game there. Couple days off for all sports involved on Monday, Tuesday before men's basketball returns home to take on Georgia Tech on Wednesday evening. That'll be on regional sports networks, so regular cable for you on that one. Women's basketball follows suit. They'll be returning home on Thursday at 8 p.m. for a late start for a home game, strangely, but also on regional sports networks. So tune in to probably WHAS for that one.
That's one of those case, I think, ACC network double headers that they've been setting up on Thursday nights where they play a game at 6 and then they have an 8 o'clock game. So that's the way they've been doing that with women's basketball in ACC the last couple weeks, featuring a double header on that night. So that's probably what we're getting there.
Yeah. You know, I said WHAS, but that's actually probably going to be Fox Sports South or something like that. It's usually where those RSNs fall in.
I'm thinking we're going to be on the ACC network, but time will tell, folks. You have options now.
Yep. The following day, Friday, women's tennis heading up to Muncie, Indiana, take on Ball State. That one's at 1 p.m. We'll see if they can keep their hot start to the season going. And then the following Saturday, track heads up to South Bend to take on the Notre Dame Invitational Tournament, where they'll face off with all comers and see if they can repeat the successes that they had in their opening meet. Moving into Twitter, because that's about it for the schedule. I tweet is at best case scenario. I was actually relatively active on Twitter this week. It was very strange for me. Actually putting out tweets instead of just consuming them from other people. Jeff tweets is at Jeff McAdams. You better get in on your follows of Jeff before he gets too big time for us with his high impression tweets that get linked in articles.
I had one that went a little bit viral within the tech community, not overall viral. So, yeah.
In case you're wondering what to look out for when you follow Jeff, it's tech things, stuff like that. He also tweets us at Card Couple Radio, bringing you his version of his coverage of the sports. Paul tweets as at Cardinal Couple. And as always, around this time will be tweeting musings about some of the other sports as he gets interviews and we get some more roster news and things happening, but mostly about basketball as we are in the thick of the winter sports season. As the light goes off in the studio in front of us, we've been in and out of darkness for
there is a ghost in our presence. Oh yes, there is.
Not sure what's going on over there, but Jared, who is gallivanting around Tallahassee, tweets us at Mr. Anderson Jared. That's about it. That's where we are. You can always check the right side of the site out for Twitter links to all of the UofL women's athletics, as well as a running Twitter feed based on a list of those sports. So make sure you tune in to the best way to get up-to-date news from all those sports is Twitter.
I mean, we have in the past put out the Twitter handle for our hosts, so I think we can say at LFPL for Louisville Free Public Library for our current host.
Yeah, does this branch specifically have a Twitter?
I don't know. That's a good question. I may have to search for that. I don't think so.
This is the best library I've ever been in.
It's very
This
cool.
is an insane
If you've never
library.
been over here, it's a beautiful building. It's very new. I think it's
Absolutely. I recommend all our listeners, if you get a chance, just take a leisurely drive out Hurstburn Lane. When you see the McDonald's, turn left and follow the signs to the library. It is, there goes the ghost again. He's turning the light back on.
There are multiple McDonald's on Hurstburn Lane. So
this is the one further down. Yeah, past Shelbyville Road and all that. When you get past Churchill Downs, corporate building and all that
you
stuff.
can Google search for Northeast.
Or better yet, just call Jeff and ask him how to get to the library. He can tell you much better than I, obviously. But so we're having some fun here as we once again explore new ground here with this podcast. And the premise of the podcast, just to let you all know, is still going to be the same as it's always been, covering the joy and excitement of UofL women's sports. And we try to do that to you kind of bare bones to start with here, as we don't have a whole lot of audio and things that we're doing yet in addition to the live feed here. But we have great promise of things that Jeff is thinking that we might be able to incorporate into the show.
Yep.
And so, pardon our mess, under construction. We're getting there, though, and hopefully it's getting a little better each week for you, right?
Yeah. Early report says that our audio quality this week is much better, so that's encouraging. And like I said, I did spend almost an hour in here fiddling around with things, trying out, and exploring the equipment and software to get it.
And you thought you were
Hopefully
going to be able to send Saturday morning watching cartoons, right?
Right.
No, didn't happen.
No.
But glad that we're being heard well out there to everybody who's listening. And then I guess to kind of kick things off a little bit, we don't have any in-studio guests today. Not here. We do have a ghost over in the next room.
Yeah.
Keeps turning the light on and off on us. I'm thinking that's a cue maybe to switch subjects when they do that. But we're having fun with it over here. Check out the library, though, to get back to what we were saying earlier. This is really cool over here. And I've only seen like maybe 1/100th of it. I come in the front door and head over and get a coffee and then head to the studio here. But it's a big, expansive place, man. And there's all kinds of stuff going on in here. So
Yeah, they have, the makerspace next door. They've got NAV studio in front of us. They've got a kitchen over on the other side. So they're doing some really neat services here that are really kind of cool. Come check it out.
Maybe we could go back and get the old cooking girls from WCHQ and have them whip up something in the kitchen and bring it in. We could combine the two shows into a 2-hour-long sports and eat fest. Wouldn't that be fun? Come hungry, guys. But yeah, let's hop on into it. The main focus of we're going to be talking about today is going to be women's basketball at the University of Louisville. Cards are either 4th or 5th in the nation right now, depending on which poll source you want to go with. AP's got us 5, and the other one's got us at 4. The Cards have played twice this week, if you're counting from the last time we were on the air until now. And we'll have a very, very tough contest coming up on Sunday. But let's go ahead and go back to last Sunday, shall we? When we invited the Wake Forest Demon Deacons into town to play Louisville in the KFC Yum Center. A game where Louisville took an early lead. Encountered maybe a little bit of a run from Wake Forest in the third quarter, but then came on strong in the fourth quarter and got a chance to go pretty deep into the bench as Louisville took this thing 75-61. That made the Cards 16-1, and it also made them 5-0, the sole undefeated team left in the ACC, guys. Jeff, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah. So I mean, it was a tough start, a little bit of a slow start, I thought, but got going, and I was pretty happy with it. I don't know. My brain is a little distracted at the moment.
All right, then we'll let him get back to his technical expertise meanderings here. And
I will say that if you're watching on the stream, you're seeing some of Mr. Anderson Jarrett's great photos on the stream right now. So.
Yeah, absolutely. A nice feature that we've been able to incorporate a little more than we did in our old venue. In case this was a game where we had two players really step up and kind of take charge for the Cards in this one. Dana Evans with 20 points. Jasmine Jones ended up with 18 points in the contest. And how about that, Jazz? 8 for 10 from the floor.
Yeah, it's turned into one of those seasons, right, where you expect that those are the two players that are going to carry you through. Everyone else has their roles on the team. The players that are in the inside and those who are able to create for Dana and Jazz. Dana does a lot of creating on her own. But it seems like that's how this team is going to be. A lot of times there can be just one player where you say the team will go as they go, but it has to be both of these. If both of them are on, you're going to have a good time. If both of them are off, it's going to be rough. And if only one of them is doing a lot of the heavy lifting, it's going to be an interesting game, which we saw later in the week against Boston College. But a fantastic shooting performance from Jazz. We've seen that a little bit more recently where she's becoming more thoughtful about her shot selection. And so an 8 of 10 night, she took no threes. Similar to the game she had a couple of weeks ago, I guess I should say, where she took just 2 threes and made both of them. So her shot selection improving is a vast step up in her game, because when you look at missed shots on a team that has struggled with rebounding a bit this year, this Louisville team, when you look at missed shots, those can turn into effectively turnovers, especially if they're bad shots taken. So it's good to see her turn around with her shot selection after last year. And then Dana Evans, of course, 20 points. Her shot selection not as good, but making all of her free throws, making herself known with 9 assists as well. Just a good all-around game from both of them.
It's almost weird that I look at the stats on this, and I want to say Dana Evans only hit 20 points in this game, right?
Yeah.
She's been lighting it up so much that you look at that and you go, wow, only 20, but that's a huge contribution. So I don't want to shortchange her, but yeah, it was definitely a little more spread sort of offense there.
To refresh your memory on it a little bit, this was a game where the Cards jumped out to a 19-9 lead, and then were able to push that on up to 38-23 at halftime.
I had the Boston College game in my head earlier when I was commenting. That's why I was.
That's one we're going to get to.
Yep.
And so you'll certainly be called on to provide your expertise on that one for sure. Louisville was on the verge of blowing out Wake Forest, but to give the Demon Deacons a lot of credit, they did come out in the third quarter. Decided, hey, we're going to make a contest of this thing. Actually outscored Louisville 24-17 in that third quarter. It was the highest scoring quarter of the contest. So the Cards, fourth quarter, kind of took control of it again. One subject of debate is that Walls didn't get very deep into the bench, deep into the bench until 27 seconds to go. So, but a coach has got to play his players the best he can, and obviously there were some things he wanted to see out of that group he had out on the lineup, where it maybe necessitated maybe having the ones who normally see end of game action during blowouts or big wins to speak. Didn't see as much time as usual. I'm going to throw three things at you guys I thought were very important about this game. You can comment on them. Louisville won the fast break battle 10-0.
Yeah, they did it a lot. But, obviously that's a big win for this game. Wake couldn't keep up, couldn't stop us in that respect. And, defense creates offense in the Jeff Wall system, and we've seen that over the years, and certainly saw that last week.
Louisville being able to get out and go on the run there a little bit. A contest where the Cards were out-rebounded, though. That's happened off and on this year. Wake Forest, a very strong team inside, rebounding inside between Ivana Raza and Christy and Mora. They beat the Cards 42-32 on the boards case. Something that maybe is a little surprising to me when I saw that stat.
Yeah, and I think when you look at some of the further down stats that relate to that, second chance points, Louisville was drubbed, really, 18 for Wake and just 6 for Louisville. So that's one of the issues that we see when we talk about giving up the rebounding advantage. It's one of the issues that David Watson pointed out when talking about the matchup for this North Carolina game that's coming up. Louisville has not rebounded particularly well this year, which is a bit surprising, but maybe only surprising from the standpoint of we've become so accustomed to Louisville being a good defensive rebounding team and offensive with Sam Fearing under the backboard, but she's not there anymore. These players that we do have haven't exactly stepped up in the capacity that we hoped they would on the boards. And, when you play a good rebounding team, and you're going to give up second chance points. And I think that this game against Wake Forest showed it. Second chance points were really the only advantage that Wake had in this one. They only forced 12 turnovers a game, and they forced 9 out of Louisville, but could only get 4 points off those turnovers. So really did not take advantage of their opportunities there. When you look at it, Louisville really just played into Wake's strength. And you can't do that and extend very far into the postseason by just letting the other team beat you the way that they want to.
Despite that second chance point advantage for Wake, the Cards were getting into the paint and scoring, though. They outscored Wake Forest 46-28 in the paint. That's an 18-point differential right there, guys. And I think that it shows that this little team can be opportunistic at times. If they see a chance to get to the hoop, they're going to drive and do it. The complexity and the difference between those two stats kind of surprised me a little bit there. But the Cardinals may not have been grabbing rebounds in there, but they were getting in there and scoring.
Yeah, and one of the things I said in my article last week before the Wake game was that they needed to run the offense through Kylie and Bianca. And I thought they did that fairly well. And I think it worked out and it helped out to go the kind of a little bit inside and outside, and saw even some passes between the two of them, which was interesting because that really kind of throws the defense in a challenging situation to have good passing between two bigs down there. So I was excited to see that. I think it worked pretty well. So
Cards case were also very opportunistic on turnovers. They created 18 of them. The Wake Forest suffered. Louisville had a mere 9 turnovers, and the points off turnovers were huge in this contest, 28-4 in favor of Louisville.
Yeah, you mentioned the fast break points, and Louisville getting 10 of those. You have to imagine those go straight into those points off turnovers. Louisville is a good stealing team. They had 9 in this game compared to Wake's just 1 steal, which is hard to get fast break points if you can't steal the ball. So that I think those go hand in hand. Louisville has been pretty good at forcing turnovers. They do a very good job of executing off of those turnovers. And Louisville plays a pretty good half-court offense in addition to scoring on fast break points. So if you kick the ball out of bounds or you travel or double dribble, Louisville's going to punish you on that next half-court set. And those go to points off turnovers just like a fast break steal does. So getting additional possessions and taking advantage of those additional possessions are something that Jeff Walz preaches, and this team does a good job of meeting the expectations that he sets for that role.
In addition to Dana Evans' 20 points, she also had a game high for both teams, 9 assists. And I think it's a great example of her fulfilling the role of point guard, not only scoring when needed, but distributing the ball to players who will score in case she can't score. So very, very happy with Dana's game on that one. I think that one of the factors also that kind of impressed me a little bit too here was the fact that Jasmine Jones picked up 5 assists, and throughout the entire contest, unfortunately, she had 4 fouls. Maybe that could have gone a little bit better, but Jazz has been foul prone lately, and these things are going to happen. So with this win under their belt against the Wake Forest team, which is worlds better than they were last year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You take a look at what Wake did last year. I think they were 1-16 in conference or something.
Something like that. Yeah, definitely credit to Wake for putting together a pretty good team this year.
Jen Hoover's got a team that is all in.
Yeah.
And they are. And they play each quarter like it's 0-0. And they come out and try to battle you everywhere they can. A couple of bona fide stars there, I think, in Ivana Raza and also Christine Moore. Gina Conti had a pretty good game against the Cards, too, as well as Alex Sharp. But Louisville with 4 in double figures. Kyle Shook had 12. Elizabeth Balogun, ER, with 10 points. And then, of course, Jazz is in that. Bianca Dunham, never a huge score for us, but she did log in 29 good minutes with only 4 points. But she did have 7 rebounds, which is key.
That Bianca Dunham low score, obviously we're used to it, but it's a bit concerning. I think we saw probably the reason why she wasn't able to get things going with the fact that she sat out in the next game with an injury. But when you're scoring 46 points in the paint and one of your starting front court players only has 4 points, that's a bit concerning, I would say.
It is indeed, as far as that goes. That would become a bit of a concern as the Cards went from this one into the Thursday night contest where they traveled to Boston College, Chestnut Hill, yes it were, to the Conti Arena up there to take on the Eagles, an Eagles team which is getting a little bit better in their second year with new coach Joanne up there. She's a coach that actually was with Jeff Walz at Maryland as an assistant up there.
Yeah, I think Dana shut out the lights as the lights go out next door again.
Yeah, Dana must be over there practicing as our ghost. Oh, nope, the lights are back on. Dana must have missed one. The lights. These lights have got me sidetracked, kids. I'm sorry. It's kind of like I'm at a Grateful Dead concert here. I
don't think that's the lights at a Grateful Dead concert.
Look at the lights, dude. They went out. Dana Evans just decided when they went to Boston, Massachusetts, guess what? I'm going to come out and put a whale of a game on y'all. Look out. And that she did as the Cards rolled out to a kind of a questionable first quarter in this one where they were only able to grab themselves a very tenuous and brief lead at 19-18. This looks like this one just might be a barn burner for 4 quarters, guys.
Yeah, this is what I was referring to when I started out saying they had a struggle starting. I'm not sure what happened. I mean, credit Boston College. They're playing well. They're playing far above what they have traditionally. But, they came out and weren't playing the way that we know they can. And so it was a matter of getting settled, which is we sometimes see with this team. They get a little bit excited and don't play the way they're supposed to. Ball takes them back at quarter or at halftime and kind of gets their heads on a little straighter sometimes. So it's frustrating to see it, but it's good to know that they can adjust and react to it.
Okay, say first quarter where Louisville committed 7 turnovers, which is, when you look at the stats for the game, and they ended up with 16 total, those 7 in the first quarter were certainly indicative of a team that wasn't quite running all 8 cylinders yet.
Yeah, you look at this game, I was just reviewing the stats, which is why Jeff kind of took over in that second segment. He looked over to me to speak, but I was just entrenched in the stats here.
And I'm watching the lights, so you'll get it.
Yeah, but like you mentioned, 16 turnovers, 7 in that first quarter. You look at the stats overall, and you look at the shooting percentages, and Louisville really only won this game because of an extraordinary shooting game. They shot 58% from the floor, 65% from 3 on 17 attempts, and so not some small amount there, and 83% from free throw land. They had more turnovers than Boston College. They had more fouls than Boston College. Boston College had more points off of those turnovers. So I wouldn't say uncharacteristic because Louisville is a very good shooting team, but an abnormal shooting performance is really what carried them across the finish line, I think. And it was unfortunate to see that the turnovers were everywhere. It was like a bug. Dana Evans had 3, Jazz Jones with 4, Yassine Diop had 3 of her own, Mikasa Robinson with 3. It was people that you trust to have the ball in their hands eroding a bit of that trust. And ultimately, like we said, Dana Evans makes up for her 3 turnovers and 3 fouls by shooting 7 of 10 from 3. Still hunting for a new career high after setting that career high of 7 earlier this season. You have to imagine she was hoping to make an 8th on Thursday night, but the second quarter, Louisville really jumped out to that 10-point lead with a 9-point win in the second quarter, and they just kind of hung on in the second half due to an inability to hold on to the ball.
When you look at the actual numbers quarter per quarter, if you look at the first, third, and fourth quarters, this is a very close ball game. As you mentioned, the Cards 21-12 in that second quarter. A quarter, guys, where they hit 5 3-pointers. When was the last time you've seen that out of a Louisville team, okay? And Dana Evans had 14 at halftime. She was just knocking the lights out of everything. Incredible effort by her. In fact, for a while, the only ones who had scored for Louisville were in the end of the game until Jazz Jones put in a jumper with 2:58 to go. It would have been Dana, Diop, and Balaboon.
Yeah, and Dana just she couldn't miss. It was like she was shooting at a swimming pool.
Throwing the old tennis ball in the pool.
Yeah, off 1 foot around a defender from 3-point land straight out, and one-handed swish. It's like, well, huh? I mean, that one got national attention on Twitter of the replay. That just was, it was crazy. But it was almost a circus shot. But I mean, she drained it. She drained it perfectly. She was just in the zone.
Ironically, that second quarter, which Louisville did most of their damage in, was their worst shooting quarter from the floor when you take out the threes. They went 3 of 11 from 2, shot just 47% overall in that quarter, but the 5 of 6 threes really carried them, and as well as a better defensive performance, allowing just 12 points in that quarter, the least by far for Boston College on Thursday.
Others were doing their share, obviously, helping out quite a bit, but it was the Dana show. After 2 quarters, the Cards with a 40-30 lead as they went into the halftime break. And I look at this second half as maybe just an extended learning lesson for Louisville about needing to find out how to bury a squad. You had them on the run. You're coming off a huge quarter. And when you take a look at what happened in that second half, the Cards actually won the second half 41-40.
Yeah, it was the second half was scoring wise was close, but I don't know that it felt that way from the state of play. But it's definitely, you're right, and our esteemed colleague Mr. Watson kind of hit on it in reference to what he was expecting for the North Carolina game coming up. That you got to have a killer instinct, what they call a killer instinct, to put a team away. You got to be ready and able to do that to really advance deeply, because you're gonna need that when you come up in a team that has the ability to claw their way back into something. And we will run into that in conference and then in postseason. So,
in case this was a topsy-turvy kind of third quarter, to use lack of a better term, where they actually saw Boston College climb back within 6 points at 49-43, and then later in the corner were able to extend this lead to 62-48 after a Yassine Diop layup. So it was a weird quarter in a lot of aspects. Louisville barely won the quarter. Once again, the third quarter being the highest scoring quarter of the contest. I don't know what was actually going on out there with the runs and then the non-runs. But it was obvious that the Cards had the lead, and they weren't going to really lose that lead, but they just weren't performing like a team that wanted to kill somebody.
Well, I think when you look at this game and you kind of read between the lines on some of the stats, this was a game that was just kind of off the rails for everyone. Not to say one particular team, but the game itself just lacked some structure, you would say. You look at 16 turnovers for Louisville, as well as, if I can find my mouse and be able to scroll here. Let's just use the touchscreen. 16 turnovers for Louisville and 15 for Boston College. Both teams playing fast and loose and really unable to play clean basketball, but only 14 fouls for Louisville and 12 for Boston College. Neither team got to the line a particularly large amount of times. Boston College more with 17 attempts to Louisville's 12, but the refs really were kind of holding their whistles as far as foul calls go, and the priority was or potentially they couldn't call fouls because the teams were too busy throwing the ball into the stands before they had the opportunity to get fouled.
Including one that went directly to Jeff Walls.
Who did not take the shot.
He didn't take the shot.
He didn't take the shot. You could tell he was not happy, however.
31 turnovers is high. There's no doubt about that. But as I mentioned to Sonia during this game, anytime you get a crew that's led by Bob Interline, one of the Interline brothers that call a lot of ACC games, the foul level is going to drop. It's not going to be nearly as many fouls because Bob likes to let them play. I mean, you can get away with homicide inside and probably just be a change of possession.
It's an issue with consistency. I think we've talked about refereeing a lot. We have lamented the fact that some foul calls don't make sense. Some refs call things differently. The rules are not applied in the same way, but the biggest issue is consistency. When you have rules that are set in place, and we saw this a couple of years ago, the emphasis was said that there would be more fouls called, and you have refs who just don't want to do that because they don't want to have been perceived as taking over the game. It really is a struggle for a team like Louisville that likes to play fast and play physically to even know really what's going to happen. Are you going to get called for fouls? If you drive the lane and you get mugged, can you be expected to go to the free throw line like you would in 80% of your other games? Or in this one, is that just going to be move on? So maybe some of these turnovers are travels because you expect a foul to be called and it doesn't happen, or you drive into the lane and get bumped, and instead of getting the foul call, the ball just kind of trickles out of bounds. It's just tough. I can see from a coach's perspective and from a player's perspective, it's a challenge to even play the game when you don't know how the rules are going to be assessed.
And Dana added a couple threes in that third quarter that got her to 6 of 7 from the three-point line as the Cards were up, we mentioned, 64-52. That brought us to the fourth and final quarter where you still felt comfortable. Louisville had this thing; they were going to win this thing. You just wanted to see maybe them take off in the fourth quarter and kind of put Boston College to bed, so to speak. Instead, what we had was a very close fourth quarter as far as score goes, where Boston College actually outscored Louisville 18-17. Dana ended up hitting 1-3 in that fourth quarter to give her the, at that time, 7 for 8 shooting. She ended up a little bit off of that for the end as she, I think her final was 7 for 10 from the 3-point line. That's still not a bad night.
That's pretty
guys,
gaudy.
Okay, that's not bad at all. Something you can kind of shake your head about and go, yeah, I think I just did that. I love this gym. Let's play here all the time.
That's right. Yeah.
As the Cards eventually had that lead out to 15 at one time after Elizabeth Balagoon 3 and ended up taking the 81-70 win. Once again, Walls did not go very deep into the bets except for three players. As the one factor in this game that we have yet to mention yet is that Bianca Dunham did not play. Yassine Diop drew the start, and there was that mysterious injury that she needed to rest.
I think it's weird not only that we don't see any Bianca Dunham, but without Dunham, that Dixon only got 10 minutes. A very strange situation for Louisville to have to be shorthanded, you could say, at a certain position, and then one of the players that also fills in at that position just doesn't pick up the slack. A weird situation for Jeff Walls to not use, or for Dixon to get even fewer minutes than she normally does, in a situation where you would expect her to be used even more often.
And I think you can pontificate a little further on this, Jeff, if you want to, but this was a team that was hitting us with four-guard offense quite a bit. And so we had to respond in kind. You can't really have Shook and Dixon in the game at the same time when you're going against a smaller, quicker team. So they did have to rely on Mikasa Robinson a lot more than they normally would. Even Kono saw 7 minutes in there early. She wasn't quite as effective, I think, as they wanted her to. So they stayed with our girl Cossett there quite a bit in the game, Jeff.
Yeah, they did. And I think some credit to that has to go to Cossett herself and the improvement in the game that she's been demonstrating. But, yeah, she's like we've said, she would be an attack Yorkie if she was 1 inch shorter. But she's out there. She's proving her worth, and she is persistent on defense. And so when you've got a four-guard offense facing you, you want somebody that can move quickly and get in front of the ball, get in front of the advancing player, draw some charges, bang her head on the floor, and pop right back up, which was a little scary for the moment.
Yes.
But, yeah, I mean, you look for that. You've got to get
She had the great stop cut that made Twitter chatter a bit with a great cut in behind the defense for a layup.
Right.
So a real grasp of the offense that she's showing.
Yeah, and that's been the kind of the coolest thing about her presence this year on the court is that she's developing more of the offensive side. We saw last year she came out there and she was a good defender, but she couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, to be honest. And now she's coming out there and she's starting to hit shots. Not many distance shots at this point, but, she's starting to be able to, make some dribble drives and, some of the mid-range jump shots, make them work, make the defenders respect her a little bit more on offense, which just adds to her value out on the court. So, yeah, it's pretty exciting to see. And I'm a Mikasa Robinson fan. I've gone on record,
Unabashedly so.
Absolutely,
yes.
yeah. She's doing great stuff. I love it.
I'll ask this question. First of all, let's go ahead and do a station or a podcast ID check and give you the time of day. You're listening to the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast, coming to you live from the Louisville Free Public Library. And what time is it?
It is 3:09.
How about that? See, I have no clock in here, but without a big clock in front of me,
that would be nice.
I'm just kind of like the kid who's in that house of mirrors and doesn't know how to get out. So anyway, thank you for that. We have to kind of wonder about the question here I'm going to ask you now. How different a game would have this been if Dunham would play, guys. Your thoughts?
I don't know. You talked specifically about Boston College playing a 4-guard lineup. So really, what changes? Bianca Dunham doesn't bring you the additional defensive ability to play against guards in a way that you could still have her and Kylie on the floor at the same time. So you're limited to playing the same situation, and Mikasa Robinson still gets time. I don't think you can point to Diop or Dixon as being a weak link as subbing on for Bianca Dunham. And so in that situation, I think that this doesn't really change things that much, other than maybe the personality boost and the confidence raising ability that Bianca Dunham has. She's a real team leader on the floor. I don't think that can be overstated, but she is doing the same thing on the bench, no doubt. Not being able to provide that on the floor, I don't think limits her ability to inspire the team as much, other than you can't inspire by leading by example. But like I said, I don't think that it changes that much because of the way that Louisville was forced into their tactical changes.
Case doesn't think there'd been much of a change if she'd played. Jeff, what say you?
Yeah, I don't know that there would have been a whole lot either. I don't want to take away anything from Bianca's ability to play defense well, and even to play defense out around the perimeter fairly well. But she's not an attack Yorkie by any stretch of the imagination. She's not going to be out there putting lockdown defense on a 5'8" guard. She can hold her own with it, but she's not going to be excelling at that. That's just not where she is as a player and in her body type and her play style, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But no, I generally agree that you're probably in that situation. You're probably not going to have both Kylie and Bianca out there on the court at the same time, or Liz out there at the same time. So yeah, I kind of got to agree with Case on this one.
All right, then. So the guys are somehow united here, I think, on that aspect of resting B didn't really hurt the squad all that much. I don't know. She's such a vocal leader on the court. She does so many good things that never make the stat sheet. I think we might have won this a little bit bigger if we had been able to have her out there. I think that even though we did win the rebounding battle by 4, I think that would have been a much higher number should she have played.
Yeah, well, what she would have given you is the ability to bring Kylie out and rest a little bit more and stay with a little fresher legs maybe, which, there can be a benefit there. I don't know that it would have been huge, but there would be some, certainly.
A Boston College team, let us not forget that they also had somebody who liked the three-pointer quite a bit. Her name was Michaela Dickens, and she's a little spitfire guard for the Eagles. She went 6 for 10 from the three-point range, fellas. She ended up with 20 points, and I'll tell you what, she was giving us fits out there from the deep. No doubt about it.
Yeah, 6 assists as well is pretty impressive. Perfect from the free throw line, but only 2 there, so not a particular factor. You got to give her credit. She played certainly quite well.
But the win for the Cardinals ended up being a 81-70 win. They take it by 11 up in Beantown. The lead was a little bit larger as it got down close to the end of the game, but then Boston College got a couple of baskets late to make it that 11-point margin. Only 1,100 in attendance for this one, which is kind of sad because it was a very good quality basketball game to watch. Boston being such a big sports town.
You're spoiled.
Yes, I am. If it's not 9,000 for me.
1140 for a women's basketball game in Boston where they don't care about college sports at all, literally at all.
That's a pretty good attendance really for that.
I just got to disagree. If they really love it, well, of course, Clemson does the same thing. So, all right, then maybe I am spoiled.
You're spoiled.
Maybe I am quite spoiled.
I mean, it's great. Obviously, we have the great situation here in Louisville with Louisville Athletics and the sport for the women's teams. And it's awesome. I love to be a part of it, but let's give credit at that 1,100 in Boston for a women's college game is a pretty good attendance, to be honest.
And I did see Baldwin the Eagle there, so all is not lost.
Right.
Okay. With the win, the Cards go to 17-1, 6-0 in ACC action atop the conference. And now we get into upcoming events for Louisville basketball, and that is Sunday, when the Cards will go down to Carmichael Arena for a contest against North Carolina, a North Carolina team that is 13-4 overall, that is 4-2 in the ACC, and actually started the season winning their first 8 games. They slaughtered Miami last time out, 78-58. Of course, Miami did not have their big star Beatrice Montpriere play in that one either. They outscored the Canes 28-10 in the fourth quarter. Really, the only stunning loss I see on this UNC team was to Florida State, 78-64.
Florida State's not terrible.
Yeah, I mean, Florida State, even though they've taken it on the chin a couple times recently, they're a very good team. What hath Courtney Banghart created down there, guys? It looks like a pretty solid opponent to me.
Yeah, we poked fun at Dave Watson's prediction for tomorrow earlier. But
well, some people actually didn't poke fun at it. Some were kind of like, he may have a point.
Yeah, he makes really good points in here, especially when we talk about we don't know what's going on with Bianca Dunham. And North Carolina's not going to run out a 4-guard lineup. They're gonna have a couple of very good front court players ready to bang it against Louisville, and if the Cards can't get out there and they can't defend and they're missing Bianca Dunham, who is, like we've said, that vocal leader, that could hurt. That could be a problem. Louisville's gonna need to, as you mentioned in response, Paul, depend on Dana and Jazz to both have fantastic games as we've seen them do. I don't know how fair it is to put the pressure on Dana Evans, who's put up more than 20 in the past 3 games, to continue that and carry this team, but she wants to, of course. It's just sometimes players go cold. It can't be expected that you're just going to continue a road swing where you're scoring a ton of points. It's going to be more interesting than I think looking at this game when the season started. I think this game's going to be more interesting than people thought in the run-up to the season, for sure.
Janelle Bailey, a center that was named second-team All-ACC as a sophomore, was named preseason All-ACC this year. She's averaging a double-double this year, guys, with 10 rebounds and also putting in like 18 points a game. Just a force inside. And I don't really know how Walls is going to plan on trying to limit what she does, but that's a hard row of corn to process, kids.
Well, first of all, we hope that Bianca's back playing.
You got to have Bianca.
Yeah, I mean, that's her bailiwick down there. That's what she does. Otherwise you get Kylie down there, who's not generally as comfortable using her size. She can do it, but it's not. She's had to learn how to do it a little more. It came a little more naturally to Bianca. Or you ask Liz Dixon to play at a level that I just don't think she's been really playing quite yet. We're seeing her improve, but she's got some improvement still to do, I think. You really hope that Bianca's ready and can play. We think she was technically, I think, at Boston College, but chose to hold her out for some precaution to kind of help with some healing. So we'll hope she's available, because I think that's important. Otherwise, I think you on offense, then you go maybe good with a 4-guard lineup of our own to pull it out more.
In case, I think if it comes down to it, we're going to need to see the Liz Dixon that was on the All-ACC freshman team last year. We are going to need to see that powerful inside force of Liz Dixon step up, because physically wise, height wise, she's about the only one that can go up with Bailey and put up an effort against her, but she's got to be on her game to do it.
Yeah, I think what's concerning is that even against Wake Forest, when Louisville did have its entire front court available, they gave up 2 double-doubles in that game, including a 13-13 game to Wake Forest's one of their front court players. So it's tough. We haven't gotten the opportunity to see Louisville against a team with a star big like this yet, because they didn't get that opportunity against Montpelier and Miami. And so this is going to be a test. What can Louisville do against a team that wants to bang it inside and Louisville's really going to have to react to that. Like Jeff mentioned, Walls maybe elects to go on the offensive. Maybe he tries to force North Carolina out of their comfort zone by playing a different offense. But what concerns me about that is that this is a road game, and the home team is always going to have a tactical advantage in being able to especially go against the norms, so to say. Louisville would have a better chance to try and branch out an offensive structure at home when they've got some more of the crowd behind them and some more of Uncle Mo on their side. So there's reason to be cautious, and there's also reason, because this Louisville team is very good, to think that they might just go out and blow the doors off of North Carolina. Neither one would surprise me, a loss or a blowout, but it's tough to predict just because we don't have the tape so far this season of Louisville in a situation like this.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, and this is what we've been saying really all year, is Louisville's very inconsistent team. They may show up one game and then not show up the next. So it's which team is going to show up. Again, to go back to what kind of what I said earlier, I think I said it last week. Are we going to have the team that beat Oregon, or are we going to have the team that struggled against UT Martin?
It's either a Miami or Martin game, maybe.
Yeah, it's those are kind of the two extremes of what we've seen this year. But those were, that's they highlight what this team is capable of, both good and bad. So, we hope they're getting more gelled. We've talked about that, and getting able to come out a little more consistent. But it's a little dicey still.
Yeah, to point to issues, Louisville's two worst games so far this season, the UT Martin and the Ohio State, the loss against Ohio State,
right,
both on the road.
Yeah, that's true.
And UNC is 9-1 at home this year.
Yeah.
And one very important factor that we haven't even looked at yet is that Deb Antonelli won't be calling the game, so we know it won't be a close one. This is going to be a blowout.
Blowout in either direction. We don't know.
Because Deb's got it in her contract. It's got to be a nail biter. She's going to sit down behind the microphone.
And we won't hear 2 hours worth of how offense is good and defense is boring.
Well,
love you, Deb.
I would
come on.
go on air and say that Deb Antonelli is offensive, but that might get me in trouble.
No,
she's offensive minded.
She obviously she's an excellent commentator, but she is very focused on offensive play.
Well, she follows the Walls philosophy. How can you blame her? You score the most points, you win, Jeff.
Well, there is that, but also Walls is putting up some of the best defensive squads around, and using the defense to generate that offense. And what was it she said in one of the games that she was calling the other day, that she essentially said that playing defense was boring. I'm like, no, I got to disagree with you on that one.
Just depends on who you're watching play defense.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, if it's Miami, it is boring because they don't do anything.
Well, okay.
But consider this, if you will. There are 5 double-figure scorers on this NC team. Mm-hmm. 5. So if you shut down Bailey,
yeah,
there's 4 other who could jump up and potentially
a lot of weapons,
have a game against you.
Right.
Yeah,
there's a lot of exits off this interstate.
Yeah.
I think what's encouraging about that is if you can find a way to shut down Bailey, Louisville's perimeter defense is pretty good.
Yeah.
Their guards play pretty good defense, and so you've got 5 double-figure scorers, but if you can shut down the one that has the ability to hurt you the most, you're playing right into your own strengths as far as defending the others goes.
I'll give you that one then. Consider this then, if you will. And I feel like I'm David Watson sitting on my shoulder here whispering in my ear. But North Carolina is first in the ACC in scoring, almost 77 points a game.
Yeah.
And they are 4th in points allowed, less than 60 a game. It's a 17.1 scoring margin for them. That is the best in the second in the league, I'm sorry. They also are first in the league with a 1.33 assist-to-turnover ratio. So when you take a look at it, there's a bunch of power behind that stroke there, Jeff.
Yeah, and David Watson, which, Cardinal couple contributor and, a great friend of the show. He steps up and he says some things that are he claims were going to be controversial and not liked. And frankly, just about everybody I've seen you got some pretty good points there, man. People may disagree with what they expect the outcome to be, but certainly the analysis is good and is pretty much an outline to look at how we need to tackle this game. So
And don't get David wrong. He's one of the largest Louisville
Oh,
fans.
absolutely.
I mean, biggest Louisville
Without a
fans
doubt.
I know.
Yeah.
Maybe the largest in the state of Florida, except for the winter birds that go down there for 3 months. Okay. But he makes some very good, valid points. And he also I think he probably spent some time watching North Carolina game highlights and stuff, too, to come up with some of his ideas. These two teams obviously know what's at store here. The Cards want to try to separate themselves a little bit from ACC competition and stay undefeated. UNC wants to climb back on it. And if they do, they can go back to 5-2 in the ACC. This is a team that hasn't been great lately, though. 5-4 in their last 9 games. They've had some stumbles along the way. Can Walls find something out of that to maybe create a pattern, a plan to beat them?
I'll point out one big thing about David Watson finding all of these potential holes and issues to look at against this UNC team. David Watson's great an analyst. He can find a lot of stuff, but he's not doing it as a profession. And you know who is? Jeff Walls. If Dave Watson could see those things, Jeff Walls saw them too. And he's spent probably since before Thursday preparing for what UNC is going to throw at him and figuring out how he's going to address it. Whether or not the team can achieve those goals and execute in the way that Jeff Walls expects them to, and whether he'll have all of the weapons that he expects if Dunham's out, we don't know. But I expect that Jeff Walls has been paying attention to how UNC's been playing throughout the year and has crafted his own response to their play.
This one's going to take place Sunday at 1 p.m. in the Carmichael Arena. We get ESPN2 coverage on this one.
Nice.
Tomorrow, fellas, with Pam Ward and LaChana Robinson. And they do a
Cool.
great job.
They're both
calling
great.
in.
Yeah, fantastic.
Love both of them. If for some reason you don't, you can always listen to Nick and AJ on the radio call. They'll be down there for it. The Cards actually lead this series history 6-3, so that's good. And actually 2-0 away against them. So we're 1-3 on a neutral court against them, and how that happened, it must be NCAA tournament stuff. I think
by NCAA or ACC possibly.
Yeah, or maybe ACC. But so we've never lost in Carmichael, being down there. Last time we played them last year, blew out to an early first quarter lead on them, and then hung on against a strong North Carolina charge on us to win this thing 73-66. This is a game where at one time we had Sam, we had Erica, and Asia all on the bench in the second half.
Ooh.
And still pulled out this
Yeah.
win. Huge effort by not only Dana, but Kylie Shook and Jasmine Jones in that game. And guess who all three are back for us?
That's right.
So bingo there. We're 5th in the nation or 4th in the nation, depending on whether you want to believe AP or USA Today. Tar Heels are not ranked. I would say they're a
3?
top 25 team in the nation.
Our RPI is 3 too. I think.
Yeah, and our RPI is high up there. So this one should be fun. Certainly you don't want to miss this one for sure if you can do it. I know that there's a big day tomorrow as far as NFL championships going to NFC and AFC. But I think this one will be over before those do start, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it should be on before that.
So just, hey, tell the wife or husband, bring me a bowl of chips and keep the beer coming. I'm watching TV for 8 hours. So kind of that deal there. So basketball, we've given you a whole lot of it here today. Let's get into a couple other side items, though, in case tell us a little bit what's going on with the women's tennis team.
You know, it's mid-January, which means we're praising the women's tennis team for about a month.
Yeah.
It's a little bit
Well,
disconcerting.
that sounded cold, man.
It did, and I felt like I was being hypercritical when I was writing the article this morning, my little blurbs about the team, but you bounce back through the schedule the last couple of years, and it's the same story over and over again. Louisville jumps out to a hot start. Last year they were 9-0. The year before they were 12-1. And both seasons, once you get into conference play, the wheels fall off. Louisville just doesn't have the answer for ACC and tennis yet. Whether that's going to change this year remains to be seen. But they start off the season with a pair of wins over North Alabama. They swept them in both matches. They were on the way to 7-0 win in that second match, but it was called early because Louisville had already achieved the number of points with the games not the other singles matches not yet completed. Louisville did lead in both of those when the matches were called. And Coach Mark Beckham was a little bit disappointed in the lack of focus in the second match. Perhaps thought that it should have ended quicker than it did. Louisville lost a bit of that spark there at the end, and that's concerning if you're someone who's paid attention to Louisville going 1-13 over their last 14 games in last year, or 1-12 in the year before that. If you're worried about second half focus, as it were, you're worried about second half of the season focus, and we'll see if Louisville finally has what it takes to win more than 3 conference matches, which they haven't done since joining the ACC. But not to be hypercritical, like I said, they did win both of these matches pretty handily. I don't know that North Alabama is a terribly good benchmark to assess your season future on, but it's a good way to start. We don't know how those tournaments went in Hawaii. Those aren't mentioned on the schedule or any of the scores from the fall, but this spring season's underway, and we'll see if they can roll on through the conference season this year.
Certainly hoping it'll the best of luck for them as they get into ACC play and a strong start as they approach that. We've also got some other sports that'll be joining our roster here in just a couple of weeks away, as we have a lacrosse team that'll be headed up to Cincinnati to take on an improved Bearcats team here in just a couple of weeks. And I think it's the 9th on that one.
Yep.
If you've got that schedule up there, Case, you
It
can
is.
probably see that there. Cool. And then we have softball. They're less than 3 weeks away. They're going to be headed down to Clearwater, Florida. And I'm still waiting for that phone call telling me that I can be the senior citizen bat boy for the trip.
They're less than 3 weeks, but let's clarify. They're less than 3 weeks away from starting the season, but they're about almost 2 months away from playing at home.
Oh, yeah. There's a month on the road here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Louisville will not be home until the Red and Black Challenge in the early March. So, just strap in. You got a while.
It's kind of like one of those one-hit wonder rock bands out there playing to the masses wherever they get a chance to go.
Yeah.
That's right. If
They do this every year, you know, and it's a good strategy to go south and maybe a little west to find warmer weather.
It's certainly something Holly April's got to be used to. I mean, she came to us from Pittsburgh.
Right, exactly.
So, yeah, they were probably on the road longer than us out there until Derby Day maybe. Who knows? But certainly a softball team and if you heard the interview we did with her earlier this week, she's very high on this team this year. They've got some very good freshmen that are coming in and competing for starting positions. She feels her pitching staff is very solid. She's got 3 quality catchers, guys. I think there might, of course, and then there's Celine Funky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. There might be some infield questions right now, maybe, but still I think she's got plenty of time to hit the road against a very demanding road schedule to start out with. Some of these teams that they're playing are perennial top 25, top 10 teams in Division I softball. A chance to work that all out. And even when they come home, take a look at who they're playing when they come home. They've got like 2 teams that are in the top 10 here at the Red Black Classic. So, but it's good to play teams early, I think, that are going to challenge you and show you exactly what you need to do, fellas.
Yeah, they're taking on 3 SEC teams in Clearwater, then Michigan and Wisconsin when they go to ACC Big Ten, then Penn State and Alabama down in Tuscaloosa. I mean,
Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a brutal.
It really is. I was just really looking through it. I was like, oh, wow. Yeah, he's really right on this.
Yeah. Death row of an early season.
I don't know if she inherited this schedule or whether she planned it. But if she planned it, we need to talk, Holly.
Well, yes, or, you play a tough non-conference schedule to get this team ready and get them ready early,
So it should be interesting. We'll be following them, although from afar.
It's brutal, though.
But, yeah, you take a look at that. I mean, gosh, I mean, there's not an easy maybe 1 or 2 teams in here. When you go through Texas State, maybe, but I don't know about that.
Wichita State,
Wichita State's always a pretty decent mid-major, and they're from Oklahoma, where there's a lot of good softball.
You're looking at UIC.
UIC
is your first team where you're like, all right, I think we can win that one for sure.
Yeah, Tulsa,
Illinois, Chicago. I don't know.
Yeah,
it'd be interesting to kind of see how this unfolds for her. With a very good pitcher that's transferred in. She lost 1 good pitcher, though, that transferred out. So Taylor Roby remains very strong, though, in the mound, and we hear the same old litany each year. We've got some promising freshmen Let's hope that they don't have arm issues develop, okay? All right, guys, I guess we're maybe about ready to roll into some final thoughts here, Jeff. What do you think? Close to it?
I'm really excited for spring sports to start. I know a lot of you, and I think you mentioned, and some other folks on our side have mentioned that it's a little bittersweet because it partly signals the end or nearing the end of basketball season. But I'm really excited for softball. I always enjoy going out to Ulmer. It's just fun to go out there and spend a couple hours. Pleasant, beautiful place. It's a beautiful park. Simple park, but beautiful. I'll enjoy it.
Case, what say you?
Yeah, spring sports are really starting to kick it off, and I'm kicking off my own new schedule. Started my PE schedule this morning, so studying for the professional engineering exam. It's going to take up quite a bit of my time over the next 4 or 5 months, so I'll be tuning in as much as I can to local sports. They'll be one of my outlets to prevent me from going crazy with work and PE prep, but yeah, looking forward to getting through this spring and into the summer and see what we can get to after that.
And it's very encouraging that you are finally getting into PE. Most of us took that in the 9th grade.
Yeah, it's a little late.
Okay, but hopefully you got a nice T-shirt and shorts you can wear out there. Just don't let them throw you in the girls' locker room. All right? That's my final thoughts on this. Yes, I'm excited about spring sports like these two guys, but I'm still very, very excited about this UofL women's basketball squad. Just can't wait for tomorrow's game, and I hope that it's something that was worth waiting for me, where we come out and kind of make a statement at the ACC. Like, it doesn't matter. We'll play you anywhere and we'll beat you anywhere. Just here we come. Look out for us.
Yeah, let's hope.
I'm hoping it's going to be that kind of game, but if it's not, then it's a lesson learned and teaching points for Coach Wallace. We'll see. Tomorrow, catch it. As for that, that's us. Jeff, you want to sing any opera or anything instead of our Hazel or anything?
No.
All right, then. We'll be signing out. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll catch you next week. Time and date to be announced.